Saudi Arabia has made a lot of changes in its political behavior after the death of the king and change at the apex of the pyramid power. Saudi, who previously treated with caution and sovereignty and indirectly paid to its role in the region, suddenly changes its behavior and considering seriously about for the realization of their political ambitions in the Islamic world and the Arab world. New Saudi king showed that he doesn't have the same patience as the previous king with entering the war and the political developments in some countries in the region. Saudi Arabia saw insufficient protection of their mercenaries and accordingly decided to intervene directly in the internal affairs of the countries of the region. The question arises whether Saudi Arabia has been successful in achieving their goals. To answer this question, we must first examine the objectives of Arabia. No doubt, the most important Saudi goal of recent conspiracy and warmongering actions is ultimately dominance over the regions and the Islamic world and the Arab world. Although Saudi Arabia has fired their competing nations and their opponents' harvest with the help of its petrodollars and causing the killing and displacement of millions of Muslims, and having achieved the part of its goal to weaken and divide the rival countries. But by no means Saudi Arabia has been successful in achieving its goal, the leadership of the Islamic world. As a result, this country hasn't been achieved nothing but increased that hatred of the Muslim nations and being separated the rules of these regimes of the Islamic world. The heavy cost of war has caused the country's economic collapse. Saudi Arabia should know that cannot introduce himself as the leader of the Arab and Muslims world by bullying and domination of a few small countries with no historical and cultural record and allure few opportunistic countries. The leadership of the Islamic world and Arab world is a great place that necessitates an attractive ideology, which Saudi Arabia is also faced with failure of this case. The reason for this is that Wahhabi thinking is the main expansion factor of violence and incompatible with human nature and ultimately has no ability to attract nations with cultural and historical identity. And that is why Saudi Arabia cannot tolerate the nations such as Iraq, Syria, and Egypt. Another fact that is confirmed by its Saudi leaders having never been raised as a spiritual leader of Arabic nations and also popular among people of Arabic and Islamic countries. Saudi Arabia, nothing is ignored to obtain intellectual religious leadership and also has invested heavily in the direction of propagation of Wahhabis in African countries, consequently causing the weakness of the African religious leadership. This country has paved the way to obtain intellectual religious leadership in Africa. It must be confessed that this country has achieved the fruits of the investment about the published Wahhabism idea, and now the Wahhabi ideas flourished in countries such as Libya and Nigeria. However, Saudi Arabia has achieved success in the fields of media. The country could cover up the sheikhs and princes' corruption and the poverty of the people with the power of its media and preventing popular protests in the country by doing false propaganda about the necessity of war with Yemen. Saudi Arabia has kept its people and some regional nations in ignorance and political backwardness with its media power. This country also has been very successful in committing non-human crimes and human rights violations, including the death of Sheikh Naim, wasting the funds in realizing the ambitions of the Saudi authorities, the media support of regional terrorists, the Wahhabis' deviant opinion, and the induction of false information and inadmissible accusation about followers of their religious, including Shias.